وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Let me translate this. Praise be to Allah who humbled everything for His greatness. Praise be to Allah who humbled everything for His glory. Praise be to Allah who subjected everything to His kingdom. Praise be to Allah who surrendered everything to His ability. O Allah, we call upon you and ask you as we enter this place, and we are certain of presence and that you are watching over us. O Allah, grant us with peace, for you are peace, and from you is peace, and peace returns to you. Blessed be to our Lord and Most High. O Allah, we bear witness to your vast knowledge and great power over everything that goes on within these walls, or words, thoughts, or decision. O Allah, we thank you for the blessing that you have bestowed upon us. O Allah, help us to use your grace in what pleases you, and grant us strength and trust when performing our work. O Allah, bless us in every project, every period, and every energy we exert, and write us your satisfaction in everything we accomplish and achieve. O Allah, if we are confused, pay us back, and if we are tired, then strengthen us, and if things are dark for us, then shine for us from your light with which the darkness has shone, and the pillars of your throne. O Allah, make for us from every work we do and the way in which we work a reason for obtaining guidance, happiness, and joy for us and everyone we meet on this day. O Allah, if we leave this place, then bless us in it. O Allah, we witness that all that we have is blessing, and that will be in us of blessing, or any one of your creation. You alone have no partner. May Allah bless Muhammad and his family to the day of judgment. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum.
Honorable Omar Said Shaban, Minister of Trade and Industrial Relations, Zanzibar. Honorable William Ole Nashe, Deputy Minister of Investment, Prime Minister's Office, Tanzania. His Excellency, Dr. Mehmet Guluoglu, Ambassador, Embassy of Turkey, Tanzania. His Excellency, Mr. Ahmada El Badoui Mohammed Faki, Ambassador, Comoran Embassy, Tanzania. Members of the Diplomatic Corps present, Mrs. Bengisa, Executive Director, National Economic Empowerment Council, Tanzania, officials from the Government of Tanzania and the Revolutionary Government of Zanzibar, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the second annual Muslim Women in Business event. This event is not only important but very timely. The theme for this year's event is Financial Digital Inclusion for Muslim Women in Business in Tanzania. We all know that we're living in a world where technology is at the heart and drives how we work and how we do business. So this event gives us a platform to not only discuss the challenges and obstacles that we face in doing business, but also provides a space to look at opportunities and potential solutions to ensure that there is financial digital inclusion for Muslim women in business in Tanzania. We therefore commend Pink Hijab Initiative for creating this platform for us today, and also for being very forward-looking in promoting Muslim women in business in the country. And with that, I would like to now call Ms. Hadija Omari, the Executive Director and Founder of Pink Hijab, to give us some opening remarks. Karibu sana Dada Hadija.
Honorable Omar Shaban, Minister of Trade, Industry and Development in Zanzibar, Honorable William Ole Nashe, Deputy Minister of Investment, Prime Minister's Office in Tanzania, Excellency Ambassador from Turkey, Comoro, and Iran, members of the diplomatic corps presence, Mrs. Beng Isa, Executive Secretary from the National Economic Empowerment, official from the Government of Tanzania and Government of Zanzibar, members of press, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Na wasalimu kwa jina la Jamhuri la Muungano la Tanzania. First of all, let me start by thanking Allah for giving us life and bringing us together here today. I'd also like to congratulate Honorable Minister and Deputy Minister for being appointed for the trade and business to lead the industrialization revolution in Tanzania. Your presence at the opening of this small business commemorative forum is a clear indication for the government willingness to help women increase productivity, earn more income, and contribute to economic growth and competition in growth. Further, I'd like to thank both ministers as well the ministry official in the general for giving us great cooperation in our effort in general for giving us use research and contribute to improvement in policy and development strategy, including shaping the best increased competition for the products we produce, including unlocking the opportunities in business in the blue economy. Honorable Minister, Pink Hijab Initiative was established in 2006 and officially launched its operation in 2016, of which number of studies have been conducted and used as inputs through advisory role and preparation for the review of various development policies and strategy in the country. The initiative mainly aims for stimulating inclusive economic growth and transformation for ultimately creates an economic and social impact to reduce poverty and build the foundation of sustainable development for the women. We have also been providing various training for the entrepreneurship and youth for capacity building on policy and business related issues. Last year, we celebrated our 6th year, proud of significant contribution to the success of our nation, including entry to the middle income countries. I'd like to express my sincerely gratitude to the government of Zanzibar for continuing to accept to work with us as local experts in development, planning, and strategies, especially with the blue economy in the country. This forum is part of a program to create awareness, stimulate research dialogues, and policymakers produce and to help the women export their products. This aim at improving competitiveness and expand the scope of marketing as we go to the e-commerce digital. The conference is funded by CRDB Bank and moderated by Secretariat of Professional Women Department in Pink Hijab. In collaboration with various professors, we thank Professor Assad, Mrs. Beng Isa, Dr. Hassan Mshinda for specializing in economic development and supporting the Pink Hijab women to move forward. Minister, ambassadors, with specific areas of the program of the women, they want to go to the trade and they are looking for the opportunity to have exposure and to expand their marketing. We feel that women are left behind compared to the service they are giving out. In Pink Hijab, we have professional women who also play a role in consultant service to other regions. I believe that our efforts, together with those of government in Tanzania, will bring a positive change in property owners. I'd like to conclude by thanking the Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, and for those who facilitated the coordination of this forum. Mrs. Beng Isa, again with Professor Assad, and the Ambassador of Turkey, Comoro, and Iran, we really appreciate your presence. Thank you for the sponsors of this forum, who are CRDB Bank, the trainers, and who also have come to attend. We conclude the roadmap of our vision, our motto for 2025, Mwanamke Inuka Jitete Kiuchumi. We wish you all a good forum and thank you.
Asante sana, Dada Hadija, and thank you for giving us an overview of who and what Pink Hijab is and does, and the work that it's doing in unlocking opportunities for business women in Tanzania, as well as a focus on trade, increasing exposure, and marketing opportunities for Muslim women in business in Tanzania. I would now like to call Honorable Deputy Minister of Investment, Prime Minister's Office, Honorable William Ole Nasha, to give us some few remarks. Karibu sana, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Mheshimiwa Omar Said Shaban, Waziri wa Maendeleo ya Viwanda, Serikali ya Mapinduzi ya Zanzibar, Mheshimiwa mabalozi mliopo, Mheshimiwa Mkuu wa Wilaya Kinondoni Bwana Gondwe, Bi Bengi Isa, Katibu Mtendaji Baraza la Taifa la Uwezeshaji na Wananchi Kiuchumi, Profesa Musa Asad, Naibu Makamu Mkuu wa Chuo Kikuu cha Kiislamu Morogoro, Bi Khadija Omari Kayanda, Mkurugenzi Mtendaji wa Pink Hijab Initiative, Katibu Mtendaji wa Taasisi ya Sekta Binafsi Tanzania TPSF, wajumbe wa mbalimbali wa serikali kutoka visiwani na serikali ya Muungano wa Tanzania, ndugu wanahabari, mabibi na mabwana, asalamu alaykum. Kwanza sijui kama ni warsha hii ni kwa Kiingereza au kwa Kiswahili. Na walionitangulia wameongea Kiarabu na Kiingereza. lakini mtaniruhusu nichanganye lugha zote. Na nafikiri kwa kuanzia kabisa, nafikiri kitu nilicho notice cha kwanza kabisa ni namna kwa kweli wenzetu watayarishaji walipotayarisha warsha ambayo ni nadhifu, hata ukiangalia kuanzia mavazi yao, rangi, ila kuvutia. Kwa hiyo hongereni sana. Lakini kwanza nichukue nafasi hii kumshukuru sana Mwenyezi Mungu kwa kutujalia afya na kuweza kukutana katika tukio hili muhimu. Mimi nimekuja kumwakilisha Mheshimiwa Geoffrey Mwambe, waziri wa ofisi Waziri Mkuu uwekezaji. Alikuwa aje, lakini amebana na shughuli zingine, lakini natumaini tutaenda sawa. Lakini pia naomba nitumie nafasi hii kuwashukuru sana waandaji wa warsha hii kwa kutupa na sisi fursa ya kuja kujadiliana nao na kuongea nao katika jambo ambalo la msingi sana. Kwa kweli sisi ni kitu kikubwa, tunashukuru sana watayarishaji. Mada kwa sababu mimi nahitajika tu kuongea kidogo. Atakuja baadaye Mheshimiwa Waziri wa Viwanda kuongea kwa mapana na marefu, lakini mimi nimepewa fursa ya kuongelea jambo kwa dakika chache, swala dogo lakini la umuhimu mkubwa kuhusiana na investment promotion na investing in the future. Mimi aliyechagua mada hii kachagua mada nzuri sana. Imekuja wakati mwafaka. Wakati wote tunafahamu kwamba serikali ya Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania ni kipindi ambacho imeweka msukumo mkubwa sana katika kujenga uchumi na kuleta maendeleo kwa wananchi wake kwa kutumia uwekezaji. Nafahamu wote Mheshimiwa Rais wa awamu ya 6 Mheshimiwa Suluhu Hassan ameweka msisitizo mkubwa amefungua nchi ili uwekezaji uweze kufanyika na ili uweze kuwasaidia Watanzania. Lakini zaidi mada hii inashereheshwa na kwamba ni mada pia inahusisha akina mama, wanawake. Kwa sababu kweli ukitaka kujenga uchumi, wawezeshe wanawake kwanza. Kwa hiyo ni mada ambayo imekuja muda mwafaka kwa kupitia watu mwafaka. Kwa hiyo ni muda mwafaka kwa uwekezaji, ni muda mwafaka kwa wanawake. Kwa hiyo naomba nianze kwa kusema hivyo kwanza. Lakini ya tatu, tunazungumzia fursa mpya. Tunasema the new economy. Kuinvest kwenye digital economy, kwenye uchumi wa kidijitali ndio habari ya kesho, ya sasa na ya kesho. Yaani kimsingi ukiangalia sasa hivi matajiri wanaoinukia duniani wakubwa wote ni waliopo kwenye sekta ya uchumi mtandao. Ukiangalia watu kama kina Alibaba, angalia YouTube, angalia kina Amazon, angalia Google. Yaani ukichukulia sasa hivi matajiri ambao wameinukia katika kipindi cha miaka 10 iliyopita. Wakati zamani tumezoea matajiri wakubwa ni kwenye viwanda, lakini sasa hivi matajiri wakubwa wamehamia kwenye uchumi mtandao, digital economy. Kwa hiyo digital economy is the future economy. Na badala ya, na hakika kina mama atakubaliana na mimi, badala ya siku hizi mtu kumiliki duka kubwa Kariakoo, unamiliki simu tu na bando, unafanya biashara. Kwa hiyo ni opportunity ambayo inaweza ikawa accessible kwa watu wengi na hasa kwa wanawake. Kwa hiyo nasema kwamba topic tumeichagua. Sasa changamoto iliyopo ni namna gani serikali inahakikisha kwamba fursa hii kubwa ya kiuchumi inaweza kuwanufaisha wengi na hasa wanawake. Serikali ya Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, kwa kutambua umuhimu wa uchumi wa kidijitali, imeanza kuchukua mikakati thabiti ya kuhakikisha kwamba fursa hiyo inapatikana kwa watu wengi. Kitu cha kwanza unachohitaji kuweza kufanya digital economy, unahitaji kuwa na infrastructure ya kutosha ya kimtandao. You need to have internet access, reliable internet access ambayo inafikia watu wengi. Sasa hivi tumejitahidi sana, mkongo ule wa taifa unafika 40% ya nchi nzima. Lakini serikali imeweka mkakati kwamba ifikapo mwaka 2025 inafika angalau 80%. Maana yake nini? Maana yake kutakuwa na Watanzania wengi ambao wanaweza kuwa na access na internet. Lakini pia mnafahamu kwamba Watanzania wanaomiliki simu za mikononi au kuna handset ziko milioni 54 kwa sasa, lakini ambazo zina internet ziko milioni 24. Kwa hiyo ni lazima kuongeza zaidi accessibility ya simu ambazo zinaweza kutumia mtandao. Na ndio maana wote mnafahamu kwamba katika bajeti iliyopita, bajeti kuu ya serikali iliamua kuondoa kodi ya kuingiza vishikwambi, simu janja. Kwa hiyo sasa hivi hakuna kodi ili watu wengi waweze kumiliki. Na mimi naamini tunaposema watu wengi waweze kumiliki, tunafahamu kwa muda sasa wanawake wamekuwa chini kidogo katika vipato. Maana yake wanawake wengi wataweza kumiliki zaidi. Kwa hiyo watakuwa na access kwa infrastructure na vifaa vya internet. Na mimi naamini kwamba itawafanya wanawake wengi zaidi waweze kuingia kwenye uchumi wa mtandao. Lakini pia kwa sababu ni uchumi mpya, ni new economy, unakuta kwamba bado hatukuwa tumeweka sera na sheria vizuri. Hatukuwa tumeweza kuweka conducive policy and legislative environment kwa ajili ya biashara ya mtandao kufanyika. na ndio maana serikali imeanza taratibu, iko kwenye mchakato wa kuja na sheria mbalimbali na sera itakayowezesha biashara mtandao kushamiri. Kuna kwa kuanzia, serikali imejitayarisha, imepanga kuja na blueprint ambayo sasa itatuongoza katika namna ya kuingia kwenye digital economy. Mimi naamini haya yote yatasaidia wanawake wa Tanzania waweze kuingia kwenye uchumi mpya. Lakini pia kitu kingine ambacho serikali inajaribu kufanya, ukiangalia sasa hivi nchi nyingi duniani wameweza kutengeneza kodi, mifumo ya kodi ambayo sio tu kwamba itarahisisha wananchi kuweza kuaccess huduma za kiinternet na kushiriki kwenye uchumi wa kidijitali, lakini pia mapato yanaweza kupatikana ili serikali iweze kuleta huduma zingine. Kwa hiyo vile vile tunajaribu kupitia kodi zetu tuangalie namna gani tunaweza tukaharness this new economy. Sasa mashirika kama Pink Hijab yana nafasi kubwa, kwa sababu tayari atashirikiana na serikali katika kutoa taarifa na elimu ili wengi na hasa wanawake waweze kushiriki katika uchumi. Kwa hiyo niseme tu kwa ufupi, kwa sababu kama nimesema sio mimi sio mzungumzaji mkuu, niseme tu kwamba ni mjadala huu ni mwafaka, umekuja kwa wakati sahihi kupitia watu sahihi, na serikali ya Jamhuri ya Muungano inaunga mkono, na tuko tayari kushirikiana na Pink Hijab Initiative na mashirika mengine ili kuweza kuharness hii opportunity. Tunawashukuru pia marafiki zetu wa maendeleo, wako mabalozi, kwa balozi kutoka Uturuki na wengine ambao kwa pamoja na sekta ya fedha na JSRDB wako hapa na wadau wengine ambao wanajaribu kushirikiana na mashirika haya ili kujaribu kusaidia kutoa kutafuta fursa kwa ajili ya wanawake, kwa sababu nao wanasaidia serikali. Baada ya kusema haya machache, mimi nashukuru sana na nawatakia kila la heri.
Asante sana, Honorable Deputy Minister. Maybe just to summarize for the non-Swahili speakers in the room, the Honorable Deputy Minister thanked this initiative, but also presented a few key government initiatives in place to promote the digital economy. One, the six-phase government is really focused on increasing internet reach in terms of infrastructural development, with the aim of reaching 80% of the population by the year 2025. In terms of internet reach, that's specific to internet reach. Second, the most recent national budget, we saw a removal of a key tax, I think it's the VAT, on the acquisition and buying mobile phones. This is also a key initiative from the government to promote individuals of all walks of life to have access and to be able to buy a digital phone, which is also a very big step in promoting the digital economy. Third, the government is also working very hard in terms of policy, creating a policy and legislative framework which is friendly and conducive to the digital economy. The Honorable Minister pointed out that this is a new area for our country, for Tanzania, and so the government is taking baby steps, but working towards this area and making sure that our policies and laws are friendly and encouraging of the move towards the digital economy, and that it is hoping that in the near future we will have a blueprint that will be our guiding document in this arena. And fourthly, the Honorable Deputy Minister also indicated that there's work in the tax regime, looking at some key tax reforms that will also promote the digital economy. So thank you, Honorable Minister, for presenting us very high-level highlights of what our government at the national level is doing to ensure that there is indeed digital inclusiveness for all Tanzanians, but specifically for this arena for Muslim women in business. Asante sana, Honorable Minister. I would now like to call Honorable Omar Saeed Shaban, Minister of Trade and Industrial Relations Development in Zanzibar, to give us the opening address. Karibu sana Mheshimiwa.
Honorable William Ole Nasha, Deputy Minister, Prime Minister's Office, Supervising Investment Portfolio, Mrs. Bengi Issa, Executive Secretary, National Economic Empowerment Council, Excellencies, Ambassadors, and members of Diplomatic Corps, and with the special mentions, I would like to recognize the presence of Dr. Mehmet and Dr. Mehmet Kugul. I register my apologies if I pronounce it wrongly. And Dr. Ahmed Al-Badoui, both representing Turkey and Comoro respectively. Professor Musa Assad, I'm not sure if he's already in the room. No. Officials from the government of Tanzania and Revolutionary Government of Zanzibar, keynote speakers, panel representatives, TPS Director, Mrs. Khadija Omar Kayanda, Executive Director of Pink Hijab Initiatives, Turkey business investors from Istanbul, members of the press, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Well, when I was invited to come and open this forum, one of the quick things comes to my mind, and especially when I know that the association's inviting me is called the Pink Hijab Initiatives. Then I went to my cupboard and see if I have a pink tie or pink shirt. And I was not at peace until I come today and I said, okay, so my fellow invitees also don't have a pink tie and a pink shirt. I said, then I'm fine, because I couldn't find one in my cupboard. It's a great pleasure to be with you this morning for Muslim Women in Business Forum 2021. It gives me a pleasure to participate at Pink Hijab Initiative's second annual forum. I'm honored to be part of this very important forum and to address one of the most important topics of our time, which is the issues of confidence building's measure in cyberspace. Firstly, let me begin by thanking the organizers and join hands as my brother, Ole Nasha, that's well organized. In this workshop for giving me the privilege and the opportunity to make some opening remarks at this very important event that looks specifically on how best to ensure the Muslim women are included in the global digital movement that is dominating business and the business processes. In the event, we will hear findings from informative research that examine the financial digital inclusions for women, Muslim women in business in Tanzania. It is very clear the history of advanced economy that research drives innovations and the innovation drives development. Workshops such as this provide platforms for informed dialogue and proposal from diverse stakeholders on how we can improve our policies and implement them more effectively. I believe that the research findings and discussions stemming from today will go a long way to inform us as a country on how to address the topic of digital inclusions among Muslim women in business. I must commend the Pink Hijab Initiatives for undertaking this important forum and for organizing this workshop that gives the space for stakeholders to listen, reflect on the findings, and provide inputs and practical recommendations that will contribute to informed decision making. Dialogue such as this play a critical part in providing a platform for stakeholders to be part of innovations for development. More special appreciations goes to the Embassy of Turkey and CRDB Bank for their valuable financial support for the Forum of the Financial Digital Inclusions for Muslim Women in Business. I'm also aware of the other partners have also been instrumental to the research project, including Professor Musa Assad and Mrs. Bengi Issa. I thank you all for your time and resources in contributing to the success of this event. Distinguished participants, we all recognize that the internet has now become part of everything we do in most of our day-to-day lives and in the modern world. I firmly believe that it will continue to play an ever-increasing role in social and economic development as we move forward, as the world is now talking about the coming of the fourth industrial revolution, with automation of traditional manufacturing and industrial practices, using modern smart technology. The Internet of Things will become standard in how we do business. Despite the benefits of the digital revolutions, it can also yield a greater inequality, particularly in its potential to disrupt the labor market. With such threats, clearly it is a joint efforts and partnership of stakeholders, such as yourselves, that can help minimize the inequality and help make the realization of the quest for inclusive development aspired in our National Development Vision 2025 and Zanzibar Vision 2025 possible. Distinguished participants, knowledge on impacts and effects of issues such as digital inclusions on women empowerment is of great interest to policy makers. As women in Tanzania, particularly Muslim women, have tended to be left out of the mainstream economic activities or disproportionately benefit less from incomes and wealth created in households. In addition, their contributions to economic growth often goes unnoticed and uncounted for. It is in the context that I believe findings from the study will help policymakers and other social protection practitioners to design and implement strategies that will promote women empowerment and inclusion in the development process, and inclusion in the development process much better and more efficiently. This is specific importance in talking about digital inclusion for Muslim women in business to ensure that they are not left behind. I urge all of you present here today to use this opportunity offered by PHIT's annual workshop to critically assess Tanzanian path toward inclusive development in the light of experience from other countries, as shall be presented here, bearing in mind, of course, our history and the specific socio-economic environment of our country. I thus urge PHITs to continue undertaking policy-relevant research and use all avenues available to ensure that their research findings are disseminated and utilized for the benefits of our nation. Distinguished participants, in conclusion, I'm truly honored to be part of this workshop as a guest of honor, and I wish to assure you of my personal commitment and that of our two governments to the cause of empowerment of the poor and marginalized community. I would also like to propose discussions around the following areas. One, what can we learn from other countries about inclusive development and what differentiates our development path from them? Second, should we do differently to achieve the desired level of inclusiveness development? In particular, which actors should play what role? Third, what are some steps that we can take as a country to support digital inclusion among Muslim women in business in Tanzania? I would like to assure Pink Hijab initiatives of my government continued support in different ways to help it fulfill its mandate in the interest of all Tanzanians. Once again, I extend appreciation on behalf of Revolutionary Government of Zanzibar to the government of Turkey, the CRDB Bank, as well as Professor Musa Assad and Mrs. Bengi Issa for their support on PHIT's strategic plan for 2020-2025. Your continued support is evidence of the trust that you have on the credibility of PHIT. And this gives us assurance of continued access to high-quality policy research, capacity buildings, and informed policy dialogue, not only up to 2025, but hopefully in the future years. I call other development partners to support Pink Hijab initiatives in this noble cause. Mrs. Chair, it's now my honor and privilege to declare Pink Hijab's second annual forum officially open, and thank you for listening.
Asante sana, Honorable Minister. And I think we can all see our government's commitment in promoting the digital economy, as evidenced by the words from both our Deputy Minister of Investment, Prime Minister's Office, as well as our Honorable Minister for Trade from Zanzibar. So we now see the level of commitment and urgency and the initiatives that our government has, but we also see that because this is a digital economy, Tanzania is not working in isolation. Tanzania is part of not only the national economy, but it is part of the regional economy, it is part of the African economy, but it's also part of the larger global economy. So with that, I would now like to call up our keynote presenter, His Excellency Dr. Mehmet Guluoglu, Ambassador, Embassy of Turkey in Tanzania, to talk about opportunities and the potential market for Tanzanian trade. Karibu sana, His Excellency.
And also, can I have any presentation? Okay, I was planning to move. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and good morning to everybody. Thank you very much for, first of all, to stay in the middle, for asking me to be here. I hope these initiatives will really be benefit, will be faida for Tanzania, because in specific group, specific aim, will be focused, and inshallah will be an accelerating role, will be an auxiliary role and going faster. Your Excellency, Mr. Minister from Zanzibar, Mr. Omer Shaban, and Your Excellency, Deputy Minister from President's Office, my colleague and my senior, Mr. Dean, Mr. Bedevi, and representative from the Iran Embassy, Mr. Khatija Omer and Mr. Khatija Abla, thank you very much. Today, I know that my time is limited, but I will be trying to share about Turkey's economical rise up, and also about Turkey's economical, some clues, some details about how it happened, what's happening on in Turkey. First of all, for the geographical position, we are between lots of things. Between Asia, between Europe, and also even between Africa. We are just in the corner. Between East and West, between North and South. As the history also, you know, from the time of Devlet Ali Osmaniye, then big history with the geography, with the time, and coming from this background. And by the way, the mosque in that mosque on the right side, you see, it is in the Bosphorus, between the Asia and the Europe. It is on just on the coast of the Bosphorus. I will tell some economical indicators. I don't know how much it is visible, but I will try to explain in some detail.
I had some years of periods, 10 years and then 5 years periods from the growth. In 2000, it was about 6.9, but it's rised up in all this period of time. Although in the last 2 years, one of them is because of Corona, and the year before was because of the economical some crisis. We don't define as the crisis because it's still not in the limits of the crisis, some economical challenge, but it is still rising even in the Corona times. For the current GDP at current prices, it's always increasing. In 2000, it was about 171. Now it's about 5,000 billion of the economical growth, economical capacity what we have. Just one of the, I will not touch all of the details, but GDP per capita, I mean for the per person, it was about 4,200 in 2000. Now it's about 8,000. In 2015, it was about 11,000, which is the level of the middle income countries to the high income countries. Because of some dollar currency problems in Turkey, now it is about 8,000. But still Turkish economy is jumping, it is rising in different sectors and different areas. This is also one of the summary for that. It is increasing if you look at the 5 years or decades periods. Previous year, 2 countries had only the high level in the economical growth in the OECD countries. It was China and Turkey, although Corona was a problem for all of the country in the world. I will pass some of the areas. I'm trying to come because of the time limit. In some sectors also, in agriculture, in industrial sectors, including mining, manufacturing, energy sectors, water supply sectors, it is also rising from the previous year, I mean from 2019 to 2020, and especially in this year, in the Corona, when the measures, the limits are decreasing, it has also started to rise. For foreign trade, what we sell in Turkey, what we buy. I mean, in energy export, Turkey is not an oil-producing country with some of the neighbors, like Iraq or like Iran or like maybe US or some other countries. That's why for energy, we need lots of energy. That's why we buy oil and we buy natural gases. And also gold. We buy gold from different countries. For some points, for some bullet points, I should mention, for gold, there is an opportunity between Tanzanian companies to sell gold to Turkey. Although this is a global market, for gold there is a demand from Turkey. For import also, we buy and also we also sell energy and gold. For gold import also, gold export also, we have a big industry for process. I don't know if anybody have been to Grand Bazaar in Turkey. There are thousands of the companies who make processing for the gold in different styles, in different cities. There's a really big processing in different, let's say that, motifs and styles. The foreign trade is also increasing. Just to touch some of the figures maybe, it was about, for the export, about 30-40 billions. Now it's about closing to 170 billion for export. For the difference between it, about 80% of what we buy is what we sell, and what we buy differences. It is the gap is decreasing. In details, we export vehicles. I mean, there are some companies which produce their car in Turkey. Like we have Ford company, we have Toyota company, we have Mercedes for trucks company. I mean, some of the companies from Europe has also factories in Turkey, and they are exported from Turkey to the other countries. And also, again, in import we also buy from Germany, we also buy some mechanical equipments from European countries and also from Japan. For the machines, if you want to produce, let's say, the food processing, you can find any machine in Turkey. Normally, in Turkey's rise up, Turkey's development, it started to buy machines from Germany, machines from Japan, machines from different countries. But by time Turkey started to produce its own machines. I think the machine and the development linkage is very important because, first of all, you should produce, but for producing you need machines. It starts with the buying machines. By time you adapt the machines to yourself, and then you started to produce the machines. That's why machine, if you want to read how the Turkey developed, only also about machine sector, machine thematic area gives big idea about how Turkey developed. For textile, I mean, Turkey is really good in textile. I don't know how much you heard about it, but Turkey is in different areas for women clothes, for kids clothes, for suits, for men. In design, we are competing with Italy. In quality, we are competing with India, Pakistan, China, but in the middle price. That's why for textile, it has really offering a lot to do. And I know that there are lots of Tanzanian women, especially Tanzanian women, going to Turkey and buying clothes from there and selling in Turkey. But there are still a lot for not only for luggage business, also for more. I mean, being the branch of some Turkish brands, you can find in a reasonable price for Tanzania and in the quality and also suitable and good clothes. For example, for hijab, my wife also uses hijab. I think it is really offers good opportunities for even for making hijab industry, hijab sector. For electrical machines, I'm passing, for example, iron and steel is one of the important area for construction materials. When people think about women business, I think it's not only limited with the textile. It's not limited only with the kitchen tools or something like that. I know that some factories owned by women and run by women, not only owned by, run by women, they have prefabric production, or they have high technology construction material production. That's why in some difficult sectors, you may think there's opportunities for business people, women and men. I am trying to pass what we buy, again, machines still, because in some high technology machines, still it is some maybe monopoly or limited with just a couple of companies. That's why Turkey still buys machines, precious stones, including, I mean, we already touched the gold, mineral oils, vehicles from different countries, Germany, for example. For which countries are the leading countries, what Turkey makes business? It also shows about the Turkey's competition, Turkey's market. For example, Germany in the export partners and also import partners. For export, Germany is number one. We sell Germany. We sell UK, USA, Iraq, and then the last one was Italy. We sell our products to these countries. It means that the quality should be accepted from them. We are competing with their own companies, and we are trying to sell them. And also, in this one, the down one is also same, only there is a Spain instead of Iraq. This is, the first one is for the previous year, the second one is for this year, May 2021. We buy from China, number one, Germany, Russia, USA and Italy. For Russia, especially the energy is one of the important partners for us because for production you need really big energy. I'm moving faster. I know that the time is limited. Exports by region, Europe is for us. Europe is number one. We sell and we buy mainly from Europe, and then Asia. Other countries are coming. In this slide, I want to touch one specific thing. For Africa, for Turkey, North African countries, we have a strong business relation. But for the other countries in Africa, like in Tanzania, there's a big gap. There's a big thing that we can do. In different sectors, there's a lot of opportunities for buying Turkey and for selling Turkey. So when we look at all Turkey's business activities, it is still a couple of 100 millions. Normally, in this capacity of just for Tanzania or for EAC, we should be talking about billions of dollars for this big region. And also, it's same for import, like what I touched in export. just a couple of things. Construction area, there is a list for 250 largest contracting company in the world. 44 Turkish companies are in this list. That's why about nearly 20% of this list is from Turkish companies for construction, for infrastructure, for buildings, for, in here also, I think I don't need to mention about SGR and the Yapı Merkezi. That company is one of the company is in that list. It is also growing. For investing Turkey, why I wanted to mention this one? Because what we can copy also in Tanzania about this relation, what kind of parameters we are trying to present. The economy, the increasing economy, because there's a market in Turkey, 84 million population. Domestic accessible markets, and how to make it with the free trade agreements. Location, the demographics, I'm passing some of the areas. Continuous reform process, trying to make things easier and faster. Again, some sectors, only one of them I want to mention, especially for agro-food, for agriculture and the food processing. From the Europe perspective, this is number one. Turkey is number one from Europe. And what we produce, from tomato to the vegetables to the fruits, we sell to the Europe. Because it's very, as the distance it's very close, we can send by trucks, not by ships or some other things. We can send by trucks. It is very important market for Europe to buy, for us to sell. In global agriculture economy, Turkey is 7th in the list. For Turkey's development, economic development, agricultural development is very important. That's why I think in Tanzania, agricultural economy, food economy is one of the key points for Tanzania's development, and especially for women. I mean, you know how to deal with the food. If you look at the gender balance, better than men, you know how to deal it. But for processing, for using machines, for using maybe in agriculture tractors, or different machines, what is needed, at that point, I think it's needs a much more organized way, maybe cooperative way, maybe a partnership with the different investors. By the way, we are trying to pull with my commercial attaché much more intention, much more investment from Turkey, especially on the agricultural area, especially on the food processing area. That's why if there is any initiative which will be run by Pink Hijab and in this sector, I think we can make good partnerships. In automotive, in chemicals, in defense industry, Turkey is really rising in this area. For energy, energy is a problem for all of the countries. All of the countries who wants to increase their production needs energy. That's why whatever you think, whatever you want to run, energy is something crucial. And machinery, I already touched for that. For infrastructure, for example, if you produce any product in Zanzibar or in Singida or in Mwanza, infrastructure is important for you also for logistics. If you want to carry what you produce to the factory, to the port, to another city, if the road is good, you can carry it easier. But if it takes time, then it will also affect your business. That's why these are all affecting in each other, these sectors. For finance, for IT, especially for today's topic, for digital economy and the women entrepreneurship relation, there's still gaps even in Turkey. That's why in Turkey, I cannot say that this is 50-50 in digital economy between the gender balance. But in here also, for example, for using the mobile payment system, you can believe that in Tanzania you do it better. In Turkey, we use mostly credit card. We don't use that much mobile payment system. But in here, with M-Pesa, with HYATT, with different mobile payment systems, it is really running. But how to increase the women entrepreneurship in this area is another thing. For real estate, and I'm passing, I know that the time incentives for manufacturing incentives, if you want to invest in Turkey, we support incentives, even including citizenship. If you buy one of the real estate over 250,000 USD, then Turkey also offers citizenship But with Tanzania, there's no dual citizenship agreement. That's why it is not maybe, it is up to you. For investment, I am passing. One of the things for Turkey's development areas, these are the organizational industrial zones. This is very important for Turkey. Thousands of factories are based in here, thousands of them. If I'm not wrong, we have about 300 industrial zones. In some cities, we have about 6, 7, 10 industrial zones. And the factories, specific clusters, let's say that in industrial zone for textile, industrial zone for different industries, they are clustered and they work in there. The government is also supplying them for their electric usage, for their energy usage, for their production. Their government is encouraging them. That's why for Turkey's, engine or motor is here, these industrial zones. Also, some of them we have free zones which are based in the maybe ports or in the borders. They produce in there without VAT because they don't sell inside internal purchase business. They sell directly to another countries. And for ports, Turkey is very active ports. These are just some figures from, for example, for ship production, Turkey is one of the leading countries selling ships to Norway. Normally, Scandinavian countries are well known for ship. Turkey is now producing and selling to the Scandinavian countries. And in high technologies, and also some figures for, if I don't know if anybody didn't go to Turkey to maybe give a test, maybe encouraging for you. This is the picture from the Bosphorus. This is the first bridge. And some historical and archaeological sites from Roman Empire times. And I don't know, have you been any time to Balon? It is really nice. It is in Cappadocia. It is in Urfa. But the story of this is from the Prophet Ibrahim. The story told that Prophet Ibrahim is thrown by Nemrut to the fire, and it was this place. And again, this is story. Those fish was the piece of the wood and turned into the fish. With the marines, with the seaside, although it's not like Zanzibar, I accept. And this is from Pamukkale. These are travertines which occurred by naturally for thousands of years. Thank you very much. By the way, just last suggestion, if you didn't watch Hidden Figures movie, I suggest you to watch Hidden Figures movie, which tells about 3 women who are working in NASA and their efforts, what they did. I mean, if you watch, I think you will agree with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Asante Sana, Your Excellency. I think all of us in the room can appreciate what was presented in terms of opportunities for Tanzania, but also lessons that we can learn from Turkey. We may not be in the same level of development, but there are indeed examples and lessons that we as Tanzanians can now challenge ourselves and see how we too can grow and develop in an inclusive way, as Turkey is also endeavoring to do. We also, as Tanzania, we boast in terms of our location. His Excellency acknowledged that we have beautiful Zanzibar. You cannot compare that with anything else in the world. But also in terms of our geographic location, we have 7 to 8 neighboring countries. We are really the heart of, I would say, Eastern and Central Africa, and now with our regional trading blocks moving towards also the free trade agreements and free trade zones, Tanzania has unbelievable potential. We have heard from our government, the Deputy Minister, as well as the Honorable Minister from Zanzibar, that our government is committed and is making and taking active and aggressive strides to increase investment. I actually had the honor of hearing Honorable Deputy Minister speak a few weeks ago. And the government is not only promoting foreign investment, but also domestic local investment, which is also, I think, really key for us as we're discussing opportunities for markets, that we not only look outside, but also look within Tanzania, within Zanzibar, and also within the region. We will have access to our presenters immediately after the tea break for a very short discussion, question and answer, because we realize that to be able to have such high-level delegates with us today, you may have a few questions for them. But prior to the tea break, we heard from the session in the morning that Pink Hijab Initiative really grounds its work and the direction in research and evidence that comes from research. So now I would like to invite Ms. Ida Sykes, who's a program officer at the IFC, the World Bank Group, to present one such research finding that can help us shape our ideas and thinking about financial access and financial services. Karibu sana, Ms. Sykes.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Naomba dakika moja tu nijipange kidogo hapa kiteknolojia. Yeah, but I need to be able to see my notes. I couldn't print them, so it's easier if I... Okay. Can I just use the HDMI?
Yeah, I think.
Thank you, everybody. Naitwa Ida Sykes, nafanya kazi ya IFC, which is part of the World Bank Group. We are the private sector facing arm of the World Bank. So the World Bank's main client is the government of Tanzania, and our main client at IFC is Tanzania's private sector, although we overlap. I think it's clear that the private sector needs the government, and we know that the government of Tanzania welcomes and supports the private sector. It is my privilege to work with leaders in Tanzania's financial services sector who are passionate about growing their businesses and closing gender gaps. This morning, we're hearing about the investment climate. We're hearing about international opportunities to work with other countries. But the piece that I'd like to speak to is women's leadership. We need women in leadership at every stage of government, at every stage of the private sector. Because when you have women in those decision-making roles, even the capital that reaches women entrepreneurs, many of you in this room, can be more tailored. You know, we know that women's behavior around use of money, expenses, etc., is different from men. And it's not to say that, you know, wanaume hawaelewi hayo mambo, but why should women not be in the room when those decisions are made? And our research, our first report on leading Tanzanian women in financial services has worked to start to investigate why those gaps may exist in the financial services sector. And we hope that the financial services sector uses those to close gaps and also becomes a role model for the wider private sector. So this research report was commissioned in 2020 before the pandemic. We kicked off about a month before, and we were immediately overwhelmed and affected by the halt and pause in economics in the private sector's efforts to keep their doors open. So responding to our survey became a bit less of a priority, although we are still grateful for the data that we were able to collect. In any case, the initial objective was to first answer how women are represented in Tanzania's financial services sector, and then also tell a few stories of some leading women to put those numbers in context. When the data collection was delayed because, private companies could just not be as responsive as they would have wanted, I think we all remember those first few months, March, May, June, July 2020. A lot of the private sector was at home. Companies are trying to be flexible, work digitally. It made sense to us that we weren't getting the response that we hoped. So like many people in the pandemic, we kind of pivoted the focus of our report and decided to put the women's stories at the center and then use whatever data we had to put some of that in context and then begin the conversation around women in leadership. So we hope that, I think we're still in the pandemic. That's a reality. I think people are still wearing masks for very good reason. But as we're now adapting to this new normal, there is scope for more research to be done that we hope will build on what we share. So in any case, the result of the report that we presented 2 weeks ago features some context setting with the research that we gathered, as well as 22 stories of leading women across banking, insurance, teleco, pension funds, central bank, academia, and impact investing. So our starting point for this research is that gender gaps exist in financial services, on the customer side and in the workplace. We know, thanks to the great work that the government of Tanzania and FSDT have done through the FinScope surveys, that as of last measurement in 2017, there is a 9% gender gap in formal financial inclusion, meaning a bank account or a mobile money account. Based on our research for this report, there are even bigger gaps in leadership in the workplace, as you can see on the right there. There's a 34.6% gap at EXCO and board level, 43.8% gap in senior management, and 23.8% in middle management. Women and men are almost equal at entry level, but they drop off the leadership track with time. This is the case globally, so this is not unique to Tanzania at all. If anything, there is good news. Our small data set indicated that Tanzania is on par with regional averages for women on boards and exceeds global averages when compared to the G20. Still, we cannot get comfortable and we have to keep asking, why do these gaps persist? We need to answer this question because there is a strong economic as well as moral case for improving women's representation in company leadership, globally and in Africa. We know that there's impact on GDP. We know that there's impact on company profit bottom line, and we know that there's impact on the community when better products that are more tailored to women can be provided. So to answer the question of why these gaps persist, we conducted a literature review, desk review of existing data. We did 2 surveys, which I mentioned, an online staff survey, as well as a confidential company survey. These 2 pieces were the most affected by the pandemic last year, and we also conducted focus groups, which were also affected because we couldn't get in person with our target groups. And lastly, we interviewed 22 leading women. This research verified what are widely accepted as the main barriers that women face in the workplace. Lack of investment in or sufficient implementation of policies, practices, and strategies for gender equality. Excessive or significant care responsibilities at home for children, elders, or other relatives. Lack of confidence and a belief that women can lead. And then we know that there's also sexual harassment and gender discrimination. And lastly, There's a lack of access to professional networks, mentors, and sponsors. The term sponsors is one that's still not widely understood, but it's very important. So a mentor can be somebody you go to for advice at key points in your career. A sponsor advocates for you in rooms that you may not have access to. So when there is a job opportunity, they are bringing up your name. They are saying, I'm backing this person. That's what women need. And you know, the reality is that's how it works. And I think even the men in the room would probably think back on their careers and people who have spoken their names in rooms that they do not have access, and that's why they're sitting where they are in an all-male table. But we thank you for being in the room. We can't do this without you because you have all the power. We split the findings in 4 buckets. The first one being corporate commitment to gender equality. The good news is we found that there is strong corporate commitment to gender equality. And here I'll shout out one of the partners to our program, CRDB Bank. CRDB has been working with our program for about 2.5 years. Majid is a big champion for this work. No, I mean, truly, it's they deserve this applause. They've given time. They've given money. They've just finished offering 100 women in middle management capacity building and confidence building training, because that's how you build that long-term pipeline for leadership. We do have other partners, but since CRDB is the one in the room, I've spoken a bit about you guys. So of the 5 companies that we surveyed who filled in these confidential company surveys, 4 of them do make gender equality a formal top priority, but only 3 have incentives, accountability mechanisms, and time-bound targets to reach, to see progress in gender equality indicators. At all 5 of the companies, the CEOs are internal and external champions of gender equality. Maybe 5, 10, 15 years ago, gender equality is something that sits in HR. It's, you know, the HR department's responsibility, but, you know, HR can only do so much. When you're seeing the CEO backing it, the whole company takes it seriously. So that's why we shout that out as a positive indicator. In terms of the staff survey, 91% of women and 92% of men indicated that being a good manager is not related to gender. So most men, most women are ready to be led by anyone, provided they know what they're doing, that they inspire, they're accountable, responsible, etc. 60% of employees surveyed consider women in senior leadership to be role models. And actually, we published this just as we started transitioning to the 6th phase government. And I think as Tanzanians, I think we're all very proud of how just that switch to our first woman president happened very smoothly, embracing her fully, so proud of her. So, you know, I think that, I believe in these statistics because I think they represent our national mindset around leadership. Yeah, still, staff do believe that more can be done, and this makes sense because despite all of this work, you still can see gaps on the right, so we do need to keep pushing and improving. The second bucket around workplace policies and practices showed that all 5 companies had policies for non-discrimination, equal employment opportunity, diversity and inclusion, and recruitment and promotion. They also reported that they use gender-neutral language in their job descriptions. So it will say, you know, the manager, they will do this rather than he will do this. Board documents will say chairperson, not just chairman, etc. There is a sense of fairness in the workplace shared by both men and women, with 75% of women and 84% of men responding that they find their company policies and work environment to be fair and to promote equality. Still on this topic though, when we look at family care, we do see more variation across the companies. 4 companies said that performance reviewers are trained not to discriminate when assessing employees who take maternity leave. But some women responded that they believed their reviews had suffered due to maternity leave. Speaking of maternity leave, Tanzania nationally is in line with OECD guidance around maternity leave at 16 weeks. No, 12 weeks. 16 weeks. But one company offers 20 weeks of maternity leave, which is, so 14 weeks nationally, and this company offers 20 weeks, and the OECD guidance is 16 weeks. So these 6 weeks more than the Tanzanian law mandate actually lead this company to being an employer of choice for women. And actually, we do have a case study coming out that digs deeper into this, coming out in the next couple of weeks. This company also has 2 weeks of paternity leave, and this is 11 more days than Tanzanian law mandates. Tanzanian law mandates 3. And I see discussions on Twitter of women saying they don't want longer paternity leave because it'll just make their life harder because, their men will be out running around doing business, etc., not with children. To me, that doesn't mean we shouldn't explore this. It means we should explore it looking at, somebody's laughing, looking at the cultural context, because we do know that when fathers bond with their children earlier, they can be more likely to help with those care responsibilities after work. And the reality is, if you're in a marriage with 2 working professionals, both benefiting from the income and success of the couple, you should help each other. It doesn't mean we won't be Tanzanian women, making the delicious food, keeping the beautiful home, supporting in-laws, attending the vikao, etc., but it just gives you that 1 or 2 extra hours at the end of the day after a long work day. So, something for us to think about. Staff were 50-50 on whether their workplace was a good place to work for people with care responsibilities and whether it was a neutral or not good place. And my sense is this is because it hasn't been emphasized that employers have a responsibility to support care responsibilities for staff. And the truth is, when your staff's home life is happy, stable, and thriving, all of that positivity benefits your business and your bottom line. So we hope that this turns into a bigger conversation. In terms of career advancement, 2 companies provide employer-sponsored educational opportunities specifically for women, while 1 company offers support for all employees regardless of gender. This can be, scholarship, it can be time off to study, etc. And then second, having access to professional networks and establishing connections with other women is something that women are really, really demanding. And I know organizations like Pink Hijab and others are starting to get the ball rolling. I think that there's just a sense that there's a lot of support for women entrepreneurs in different clubs outside the workplace, but maybe there isn't one for women employees. So, we see how that comes out. In any case, 22% of female employees surveyed said that they believe their male colleagues find it easier and professional networks, either because of where or when networking takes place. It can be after hours, it can be in bars or elsewhere. And of course, women can go to bars. They may not go as often or maybe where the bosses are. So that's another case for expanding spaces for networking. And then lastly, what isn't measured cannot be improved, which is why we looked at reporting and transparency as well. We found that 4 companies report periodically on the gender of new hires, and 3 companies report the average number of training hours disaggregated by gender and employee level to their board. So as I said, those were the numbers. They are limited because of the pandemic's impact on our work, but they're a start. But now let's move to the stories. We profiled 22 women who were selected or nominated based on their track records in their field, the respect they command, and the heights they have climbed in their careers. We organized them into 3 categories: the pioneers, the facilitators, and the market makers. The pioneers, like the name, were the first to break the glass ceiling across Tanzania's financial services sector, in regulatory, in banking, in insurance, and in board leadership. The facilitators are building equal opportunities in financial services through policy, academia, research, development finance, and impact investing. And lastly, the market makers are creating value for their organizations, living full lives without compromising the progression of their careers. They compete and they win. Here are some snippets from their stories. I think some of you would recognize these women. On the right, we have Dr. Natu Mwamba, first female deputy governor at the Bank of Tanzania, a lecturer at the University of Dar es Salaam. Many of her students, male and female, are in leadership in government. So this is a woman who has really impacted how we think about economics and regulation in Tanzania. So she says, from her profile, although I was focused on managing my portfolio, as the first woman ever to reach such heights, I felt responsible for opening more doors for women. And in the report, you hear her, the initiatives she helped put in place at the central bank to increase the pipeline for female leadership at BOT. On the right, we have Ruth Saipuna. NMB is our private sector partner for my program, Finance to Equal Tanzania. And Ruth has been an amazing partner for us, an inspiring woman, an inspiring person, actually, because she's not just the first, she's the second woman MD of NMB, but she's the first Tanzanian. So in all of NMB's history, the first Tanzanian to be their CEO happens to be a woman. It reminds me of when our president took office and she said, I have the form of a woman, but I'm a president. And, that's what we have in Ruth here. So Ruth says, I can anticipate issues and opportunities beyond the numbers to make viable decisions for the bank's future. This has allowed me to challenge our teams to generate growth and apply tactics that close revenue gaps. My accounting background has helped me to run the bank as a business, but with a strict code of ethics. What I enjoyed about the process of developing Ruth's profile was hearing about how somebody with a very technical, accounting, numbers-driven background learned to think like the business side of banking. And that's, for those of you who've spoken to her, she's a brilliant woman, and I think that's the secret sauce to her. Like those technicals, the paperwork, whatever is super strong, but then there's that commercial switch that she's nurtured over the years of her career. So you'd read about that in our report as well. So facilitators and market makers, Dr. Blandina, I know, is very well known to Khadija and the rapport team. She's an amazing woman who recently became economic advisor to Her Excellency the President. And she said, and Dr. Blandina is quite fascinating because she has so much experience, but when you meet her, she feels like mwenzako. Like she really meets you where you are. She has some student vibes, and I think she's a lifelong learner, and you'll read about that in her report. So she says, in developed countries, organizations have institutional mentorship programs where people meet and check in with their mentors regularly. But I've never had that kind of formal mentoring. However, I do have a network of professors around the world, as well as colleagues and friends that I can call on. So yeah, that's nice. And then last person that we'll feature is Noura Masood. She is General Manager of Corporate Business at SALAAM Life. And she says, being a leader in this market requires hard work to meet specific objectives and even greater efforts to sustain them. SALAAM's leadership position in the market is a source of pride for her. And Noura is the first Tanzanian woman to receive a qualification in life insurance. And she did that as a mother. She did that while working. It's very tough. In the profile, she talks about failing the exam a couple of times, but doing it because she believes that we do need Tanzanians who understand life insurance at its core. So another lovely and impressive Tanzanian woman. So these four leaders along with the 18 others in our report, all stress the importance of hard work, commitment to excellence, and standing out through their work. Regardless of the challenges they faced and the support they received in their journeys, it was finally up to them to take up new opportunities and responsibilities and then excel at their work. So where do we go from here? We have some recommendations responding to the 4 areas that we highlighted. So under corporate commitment to gender equality, CEOs should continue to champion the business case for more gender-inclusive leadership, including by sponsoring women to get confidence and capacity building training, so that they're strengthening their pipeline the way NMB is, CRDB is, sorry, close the gap between policy and practice, and provide compulsory training for all employees and managers on critical gender equality issues. For workplace policies and practices, expand parental leave for all parents. We can discuss the extent to which it's expanded, but we do think it can be longer than what it is right now. Support women employees in making the transition to work after maternity leave. The first year after returning from maternity leave tends to be a point where women can drop off. You know, the demands of a newborn and work and the pressure, etc., can be very tough as well, and there's also cultural pressure as well. So when companies can accommodate that, perhaps with like a phased start when you return from work, etc., they can help retain more of that female talent. Companies can invest in employer-supported childcare systems, whether it's an on-site creche, whether it's a subsidy for childcare or other mechanisms. And then also create and implement respectful workplace policies and programs. These are around gender discrimination and sexual harassment. For access to career advancement, provide high-performing women with technical and leadership training assignments and mentoring. Support women's internal and external networks. Provide women with opportunities to gain experiences that develop their confidence. And for reporting and transparency, corporate boards should encourage the gathering of sex disaggregated data on all key indicators that they measure their leadership on. So there is a lot to do. Our report contains way more recommendations than what I've shared today. Hadija will be able to share the links as well as recordings from our launch event, where we heard from Majid at CRDB, Ruth from NMB, Sanjay from Standard Chartered, Julius Magabe from SALAAM Life Insurance. We heard from Zuhura Muro at Lindam Group, who is featured in our report. We heard from Noura, and a few other women there were 2 panels. One was on the nuts and bolts of a gender equal organization, and one was around the women's journeys, and they're up on YouTube. So we just encourage every organization to focus on what works best for them. You can't do everything, but there are a few initiatives based on the size or nature of your organization that can really take you to the next level in closing gender gaps. And you know, every effort helps. It's a journey that we are all on. We at World Bank Group are always looking at our own levels of gender equality. Just like other organizations, the higher you go, you do see women drop off, but we're working on changing that alongside our clients. So thank you so much, and yeah, all the best. I love what I'm hearing this morning.
Asante sana, Aisha. Thank you very much for giving us highlights. I know that was really a snapshot of the research, but I think it really speaks to some of the challenges that every woman in this room faces, regardless of whether you're employed formally in the private sector or you are running your own business, whether you're an individual or you also have employees. So I think what you have offered can really be translated to our day-to-day lives and to our own businesses, which we essentially can treat as our workplace. I think the point that you mentioned about the difference between a mentor and a sponsor, that is something that is becoming increasingly more important to understand, that differentiation, and I believe this is also the case in business, whether you're independently, you're an individual businesswoman or you're employed in a business, knowing who is your mentor, who you can look up to, but then who can be your sponsor. And I think we Tanzanians, when we hear the word sponsor, we automatically think money. And this is not what that means. It's not sio hela. It is somebody who, as Aisha really eloquently said, who can speak for you, who they have access to corridors and spaces and meetings and opportunities that you don't have access to the room. So it could be, it could be your spouse, it could be a brother, it could be an uncle, but it's somebody who, I mean, it doesn't have to be a man, it could also be a woman, but somebody who has more access. So when the discussion's happening, they will say your name. They will say, there's so-and-so who's also doing this business. So that is what really a sponsor is, and I think it's something that we need to understand more, and so thank you, Aisha, for bringing that up, and for us to be able to use this, this avenue more for our business development. Platforms and networks is something else that Aisha pointed to, and I think here we can look and thank Pink Hijab once again, because this is one such platform and this is one such opportunity where women get access to meet, discuss, and dialogue with fellow women, but also with other business people. So once again, thank you, Pink Hijab. And another point that Aisha mentioned, and which was represented in the presentation, was that women usually we're almost at par when we start employment. We get employed almost at the same rate. We're almost 50-50 in starting employment, but we drop off along the way. And there are very many reasons, as Aisha pointed. And I also believe this is exactly the same in business. Many women start off businesses, but we drop off along the way. So we also need to examine, why is it that we drop off along the way? Is it just the finances, or is it also some of the issues that Aisha has put forward to us? And here also Dr. Blandina speaks about this, says that even in her research, they found that women start always tunaanza, we can be at part, and if you look at school, usually women and young girls, you are usually the ones leading. That's like kwanza mpaka la saba, you'll find the girls are number one most of the time, even up to Form 4 and Form 6. But something happens along the way when we get to university. And so we have to then start looking at those barriers and the challenges that affect us in terms of sustaining our careers, sustaining our businesses. So Aisha, thank you very much, and thank you for taking time out. I know you have a very busy schedule and you're traveling, so asante sana. Before going to tea, I would first like to ask our VIP table if we can have a picture with you. So I believe that they should come up to the stage, and then we can at least have one picture with the VIPs. So karibuni. Thank you very much. We would now take a very short break for some tea and to straighten our legs. We've been sitting down for a few hours. So if I could kindly ask you to be back in the room in 10 minutes. I believe the setup here at the HYATT, you can bring your tea and coffee back inside with you. So if we can reconvene here by 11:20, so we can start the second session. Tunashukuru sana. Asanteni.